Backup center has been the Achilles heel of this Philadelphia 76ers franchise for just about the entirety of Joel Embiid's tenure. And with Embiid's outlook looking as murky as ever, the importance of this role is at an even more significant level. However, is it a closed and shut deal that Andre Drummond will be ready to step up as the big man, or could Adem Bona be the guy that takes the front line of these services right off the bat this year? I do want to talk a little bit about that, as well as some other faces in the mix. We are just about to basketball time, and to give you guys a brief look at the schedule right here, it is coming. It's September 26th. We got Media Day. Friday, September 27th, the first official practice starting up this weekend. The first preseason game taking place on October 2nd. We are almost there, and then the real preseason games all the way building up. October 10th, October 17th. They are starting out things out in Abu Dhabi, so a little bit of a strange start for us there, but nonetheless, basketball is just about back. And with that, we have to discuss some on-court stuff. So I'm going to start with Andre Drummond here. Now, it was a disappointing year for Andre Drummond last year. Averaged 18.8 minutes per game, 7.3 points, 7.8 rebounds, shot 50% from the field, 2.4 fouls per game. He is 32 years old, and he is looking his age for sure. That I was very much disappointed in the version of Andre Drummond that did step on the floor last year. Now, to be fair to the guy, he did battle some injuries, particularly a toe injury, which he discussed in pretty great length for how much it bothered him throughout the duration of the season. And he has taken his own defense online on a couple different occasions, talking about how he will be back and better this year. In his prime, during his first stint with the Sixers, there's a pretty convincing case that Andre Drummond was the best backup center that Joel Embiid has ever had. But we're kind of not at the spot where that's the conversation anymore. That who knows how many games we get of Joel Embiid this season? That is a real question that no one truly knows the answer to. You need a capable starting center for an extended period of the season beyond just Joel Embiid, and I'm not sure if Andre Drummond can truly be that. Now, Kai Carlin of Sixers Wire wrote up his little goals for each member of this Sixers team, and of course, Andre Drummond in the mix. So he titles this one, Sixers 3 goals. Andre Drummond has to hang on to the backup center role. So I don't want to hear the 3 goals that he sent, as well as mix in the other options that this Sixers team still has. So to kick things off, he writes, number 1, hold off the challengers. Quote, for now, Drummond is slated to be the backup big man, but he will have his challenges. Younger players like Adem Bona, Jabari Walker, and Dominic Barlow. It will be on Drummond to step up and continue to show that he can produce in his role behind Joel Embiid. When he is right, the big man is still a player that Nick Nurse and his staff can turn to. He's been in the league now for 13 years, so he understands what needed from him at this stage. He has given the Sixers a reliable presence at the backup spot. And number 2, Kai writes, be a presence defensively. Defense was a bit of an adventure for Drummond in the 24-25 season. There appeared to be a few moments where he was unable to do much in terms of defending picks and rolls, more than a few moments, and it appeared that he was being hunted at times, all the time. Obviously, he is much better than what he showed in the previous season, so the Sixers should be looking for him to give more and get back to his normal self. One can assume that the defensive struggles were due to the toe injury, so if he is back healthy, he can make a difference. Now, that was all the time. Andre Drummond was essentially a cone defensively in the eyes of opposing defense, which simply cannot be the case if you're going to be an adequate defensive center. Now, I'll give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt for his mobility on the perimeter being tied to that toe injury here, but my frustrations with Drummond overall is he's really not a high-level shot blocker, and he's also not really capable of switching out to the perimeter. For me personally, if you're a backup center in the NBA, you have to be able to do one of those two things there, and I kind of think Drummond is 0 for 2. And that does not get better as you advance into the twilight years of his career. But let's continue here and out the point. I want to move on to the next portion of this article, to which Kai writes, be a mentor. And he says, this is something that comes natural to Drummond. He has taken Bona under his wing along with a number of other youngsters throughout his career. He has a ton of knowledge to pass down to the younger guys, and the Sixers will be looking for him to do that. We're looking for him to be that guy to help youngsters continue to develop. He can do so by showing off he still deserves to be the backup big man of this team and pass down tips and ways to help them grow and develop their own games. Now, this is the area that I have no doubt that Drummond will absolutely fill those shoes. He's a good teammate. He's a good dude. I don't want to be an anti-Andre Drummond guy. I don't think this is a situation where he's dogging it or doesn't want to be here or anything like that. I just think the reality is that Father Time is undefeated and Andre Drummond losing that battle a little bit here. But it is important for him to have his 10 toes down on the ground and sticking up for this team, for being a key part in the locker room, even if he is not a key part on the court here, with Adem Bona being the largest part of this conversation. Now, I think the outlook for Adem Bona has changed in a pretty major way that I did not expect to be the case. I was really impressed. I went back and watched a little bit of his Eurobasket film. he looks like he has improved some levels. And I thought it was especially interesting to see him playing next to Alperen Şengün, which was pretty fascinating. Of course, Şengün, one of the better playmaking bigs in the entire NBA, one of the best playmaking bigs in the entire NBA, that they played sort of a unique 4-5 system here. He was throwing lobs to Bona. Bona was just blocking shots left and right. And I did want to pull up this article from Adam Aronson right here that hints that Bona may be the day one starting center. So Adam writes, as I come back to this screen, that Adem Bona returns from Eurobasket. And this is in sort of his 5 thoughts that he talks about kind of the state of the Sixers, highlights Daryl Morey's ping pong event, which is partially written from this perspective. And Adam writes, as Morey was speaking, the player he drafted at number 41 overall last summer made his triumphant return to Philadelphia. Bona greeted teammates and coaches for the first time since his run to the final game of the Eurobasket on the Turkish national team. The excitement across the room to see Bona was only outpaced by Bona's excitement. Bona is a veteran of international competition, but he had never played in Eurobasket, the main competition within Europe. He backed up Houston Rockets center Alperen Şengün and played a pivotal role for a team that made a deeper run than it ever has in Bona's lifetime. How could Bona's experience in such a high-stakes action prepare him for his second NBA season? Quote, I think it gives him a lot of confidence. Obviously, he had a really strong run for us towards the end of the year, and an opportunity he may not have gotten without a lot of the injuries, Morey said. But then to also do it at the highest stage in the offseason, I think just has him come in with a lot of confidence. And the fact that just like our season, he has improved and played more minutes and did more with the Turkish team as it went along. So it just shows that trajectory is up and up. Bona should be considered the clear favorite to back up Embiid. He did more than enough to surpass Andre Drummond within the pecking order. He had a long summer and has an important season ahead. And it is this final line that I think is especially important here. Adam is in the know when it comes to the Sixers. I mean, he was talking to Daryl Morey in the paragraph before this. I don't think this is an accidental phrase of Bona should be considered the clear favorite to back up Embiid. Now, to contrast their skill sets directly, I'm more prone to Bona's style. That I am a big believer in what I call the basic skills center. I know that comes off kind of insulting, but what I mean by that is you're just going to do these basic center things. You're going to block shots, you're going to rebound the basketball, and you're going to catch lobs, and that's pretty much it. That I don't need the backup center pulling out his b-ball Paul, or he's trying to take guys off the dribble or pull up a hezzy Jimbo, get a shot off, any of that. I don't need any of that. I just want you to set screens, roll to the basket, catch lobs, block shots, and rebound on the defensive end. If you can do that, you will make yourself a ton of money in the NBA, particularly like a guy like Adem Bona. He should be following the Clint Capella arc of how to model my career, and I do think that he took steps in those direction there. I think the version of Adem Bona that started last year and the version that ended it were pretty night and day different, which is a huge compliment to the work that he put in and how good he got throughout the year as it progressed there. I'm optimistic about what Bona's role would be, but I also don't think we've acknowledged enough the other options that are on the Sixers roster. And what do I mean by that exactly is take a look at this depth chart at the center position here. Of course, Joel Embiid is the starter. Adem Bona, it has listed as the backup here too, which I think is interesting. This comes from CBS Sports. And then Andre Drummond in the 3, as well as Trendon Watford, Jabari Walker, and Dominic Barlow. A couple interesting names to keep an eye on. I'm pretty optimistic about all these guys. I'll start with Trendon Watford. That's a guy that I think is much more cut from a power forward type cloth there. And I think in all reality that he's going to be playing more of that role for the Sixers. But there absolutely will be certain lineups in which he's asked to play the 5. And I think we'll be capable of do that. He did it a little bit for the Nets. He's done a little bit for the Trailblazers there. It'll be interesting to see what their overall usage of Watford is. That is going to be a guy that is heavily a part of this rotation and we get familiar with at a pretty rapid rate. Then below that is a little bit more of the Flyers. Dominic Barlow and Jabari Walker. I like both these guys as talent. I'm probably a little bit more optimistic about Barlow. Has a bit of a Spurs background. Thought he popped a little bit in Summer League there. He's got a good frame, got good athleticism, got a good motor, a kid that seems to want it there. And I think he's more of like real deal big man size compared to a guy like Jabari Walker, who I think is a little bit more closer to the Trendon Watford kind of power forward conversation. But these are the type of players that you should be taking flyers on. That is one compliment that I want to make clear to this Sixers team. Guys like Amani Bates, who was just brought in on an Exhibit 10 deal. Daryl Morey's taking these swings. It's obviously important to maximize the top end of your roster, but where you really just put yourself ahead as an organization is always having that next guy coming up, that next talent, that, guy who fell through the cracks and has not found his footing. I commend Daryl Morey for the work that he's done scrapping and looking for those type of guys. The Justin Edwards of the world who went undrafted, did not have, any team showing that type of interest, and all of a sudden he's a clear rotation piece from pretty much day one. That's how you really build up a successful organization, and I do think the attention is being paid to that from the Sixers perspective. So we'll see how the backup center battle does ultimately go down, but it does feel like there is a more momentous push for Adem Bona than I expect to be the case. This is not an open and closed case that Andre Drummond is the backup center. If anything, it's trending the opposite right now. I'm very curious to see how that plays out. So let me know what you guys think in the comments there. I know there are some concerns for the foul issues with Bona and just some overall polish that he does need to still improve on his game, but I do think it was a pretty impressive rookie season that he got better from start to finish, and I cannot wait to see how he catapults into year two. So drop those thoughts below. I appreciate you guys tuning into this video as always. If you have not already, make sure you're smashing that subscribe button, dropping a like on this video here. I'll be back talking to you next time. Peace.